cut the price of smartphones by at least 30%. This is the rallying call of stakeholders at the Smartphone for Africa Summit, who want policy and regulation eased to enable the local manufacture of affordable smartphone devices. This, they say, will foster inclusion and drive economic growth. Raph Wangutusi reports.
Smartphone for Africa Summit, hosted by Kala in collaboration with GSMA, AFCFTA and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, aims to address the barriers to smartphone access in Africa. Kenya has a 70% tax and duty rate on imported devices, which they say limits local production and poses challenges to both existing and aspiring manufacturers by placing Kenya among the most expensive markets in Africa.
It's in our interest to scale up manufacturing facility or collaborate with partners across Africa. We already do have another factory in Egypt, but I think there's also has to be more or less some harmonization of taxes, because supposing I manufacture in Kenya, even if government gives me a concession of, say, 30%, the cost is still high. Will I be able to sell in the other East African communities? Say, for instance, Rwanda. Rwanda, the taxes on mobile phones is like 3%. If you go to Uganda, it's about 32%. If you go to Tanzania, it's about 20%. Ethiopia, almost touching 40%. So it's all that there has to be that harmony, so that even if you manufacture here, you're able to move to the other markets and be able to compete versus a product that has been shipped straight into that market.
Dr. Shiko Gitau, CEO of Kala, emphasized that while cheap devices exist, they often fail to address the need of African consumers who are looking for durable, high-performing phones.
What is stopping people from going online is like a good device. So for the past 2 years, we have been looking at what does a good device look like in Africa, because they're devices. Why are people not buying? And then you realize the cheap devices, the affordable, quote-unquote, devices, are not the devices that Africa wants. There are fundamental barriers that needs to be solved. The biggest one that will reduce the cost of a smartphone by 30 to 40% is taxation and regulation. Two things. Literally, if we solve those for the African continent, the cost of a mobile phone comes down by 40%.
And while some have raised reservations with the introduction of the Kenya Revenue Authority's KRA-IMA regulation, which seeks to block unregistered devices from accessing mobile networks, Gofa believes it is a good step.
The field wasn't level, because you're paying all the taxes and the prices add up to X. But then you have guys who are bringing in loads and loads of devices into the market without paying duty. So one major impact that you're going to get with the whitelisting, obviously, is going to be creating a level playing field where everybody pays the same. If you're shipping in components and then you build up your cost, it's the same for everybody. So that should have an impact on manufacturers being able to scale up their business, because all these loopholes that have been created for phones to get into the market without being type approved or paying taxes is going to be shut down.
As Kenya pushes for greater digital inclusion, the Smartphone for Africa Summit focuses on bridging the smartphone gap through local manufacturing, innovative financing, and policy support to empower communities and businesses. Raph Wangutusi, Citizen TV.